All right. If you need some new mobile hunting gear, go check out Latitude Outdoors. They got a new platform they came out with, a profile saddle platform. They got their new saddles out, the Maverick and the Lone Star. I love that Lone Star saddle. They also have a couple new backpacks they just came out with, which are really high quality, really functional packs, especially for the mobile hunter. The Ranger 22 and the Ranger 11 both are awesome. So, if you're in the market for some mobile hunting gear or a new saddle setup, go over to latitudeoutdoors.com, pick you up some mobile hunting gear. And hey, if you need some hunting clothes, you ought to go check out ASIO gear. Can't beat their warranty, it's lifetime, and they got some of the best whitetail hunting garments on the market. I just got a new piece in from ASIO. It's their soft shell jacket. It's called the heavyweight hoodie, and it's awesome. They also have a new leafy top coming out, which is going to be awesome as well, and a silent puffy for the whitetail hunter. If you need anything from ASIO Gear, go over to their website, ASIOgear.com, use the code ECHO15 and save yourself like 15% off all their stuff on their website. If you're a deer hunter and you're not using stealth strips, what the heck are you doing? Are you really even trying? If you don't know about stealth strips, it is the best silencing tape on the market that makes your equipment deadly silent. I have all my gear padded up and wrapped with stealth strips. I don't want a single noise to come out of my gear when I'm setting up on a mature whitetail. So go over to stealthoutdoors.com and use the code BTE10, save yourself 10% off. So I've been working on some alternative logos and some t-shirts for this channel, and the guys over at Game Trail Creative have really knocked it out of the park with some of these new logos. If you want to take your logo on an adventure or need some graphic design, logo design, or logo wear services done for your business, visit GameTrailCreative.com. Mention BTE and you get 2 free hours of design service on your first project. A good way to support this podcast is to support those who support the podcast. So, all the info on my partners are in the description of this podcast. Go check them out. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. We got a special guest, someone that's way better at podcasting than me, an OG of the deer hunting podcast world, Kevin of the Deer Hunter podcast. How's it going, man?
Above average.
That's good.
That's what I strive for. If I'm average or I strive to be above average.
That's good. Well, if you can just maintain that, you know.
I like to hammer sometimes.
Yeah.
What is it? Keep hammering. Sometimes I stop. I let up a little bit.
Sometimes you get hammered instead of keep hammering.
Sometimes I hammer. Sometimes I take a break.
Right.
So I'm good. I'm okay. We've been running and gunning, but
yeah. This year, me and Kevin were talking a little bit before we started here. Man, this early season stuff, it's felt different. Like, it's so hot here. It was like 92 today here in Indiana.
Dog.
And I was in Wisconsin last weekend I tried to go up there and hunt early season. It was in the high 80s, which is super warm for up there, you know. Mm-hmm. And mosquitoes were bad, and it was kind of miserable out there.
Yeah. You know, I can do 92 degrees outside if I'm on the water, on the boat, or frankly, if you have a good shaded spot with a good breeze, like I could tolerate that.
Oh yeah.
But being out in the sun and like actively trying to do things in that heat is, I grew up landscaping and putting in underground irrigation. So we'd be working in the summer when it was as hot as it could get for days straight, digging holes and filling them back in with sprinklers and sprinkler lines in them, digging through clay. I mean, we had pickaxes and you name it, directional boring by hand under sidewalks to put sprinkler lines in and stuff. And just, man, the heat beat it out of me pretty young. And then I went and spent some time in Florida. And then after that, I was even more like, you know, in Florida, we'd set our AC for like 78 or 80.
Yeah.
And that felt like a huge relief in the summer.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm built more for the cold. We were in the lake today. I was telling you, we've been on the boat and at the lake, just taking advantage of it. We kind of got a whole nother month of summer. So we've been doing a little fishing, a little boating, being on the lake. I've been getting some exercise in, and the mornings haven't been bad. I mean, I don't know how it was at your place, but I think this morning it was like 55 here.
Yeah, there's a huge shift right now. I mean, it gets so warm in the
It's that
afternoons.
sun.
Yeah.
It's that sun.
I don't know. It looks like maybe in the 10-day forecast there's some relief coming, but
What's your precipitation been like? Because we
oh,
were
horrible.
like, we had an amazing year up until September, end of August, September, really up through August. We were doing great. In the last couple of weeks, we got our asses kicked. It's sandy soil up here, as you know,
Oh yeah.
and we've had heat, sun, wind, and no rain for like 2 weeks, and everything. It's kind of sad looking. I drove a couple days ago out to look at a hunting area, and I was like, a lot of these trees look like they're full color already, but
Yeah.
they're real dull,
Mhm.
and some of them look sickly and dropping, and I think they're stressed, and I think it's not going to be like the spectacular show of colors and things. I think it's going to be fun for deer hunting because I think a lot of the leaves are going to come down kind of faster, but they come down fast enough,
Right.
like, hey, we don't really need to speed this time of year up. I
No.
look forward to that all year. So we're supposed to get some rain next week, and I'm hoping things kind of perk up a little bit because man, everything's looking a little bit sad and pathetic as it is right now. But
Yeah.
ton of food on the ground. Um, the deer really seem to have chilled out in the war. Well, I watched in real time deer just go to water and not really do much else. I think when they have their winter coats and it's like 90 or mid 8, which our deer here have their winter coats, right now pretty thick.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're maybe still in between, but they mostly have, their winter coat.
Yeah.
And it's 85, 90 degrees. I don't think they can do much of anything. So I don't think they have been. And there's apples and pears and everything's just
Right.
laying all over right now. So they're not struggling. They're drinking water, kind of laying low and eating up all the mast crop that's on the ground right now, mast crop and fruit. So I don't, the deer have been kind of quiet, but so have I. Kind of killed my interest to
I
do
know.
much of anything out there. And I know seasons are open, and I saw Corey Godar. He shot a big deer either yesterday
I
or
think that was
today,
in
or
Kansas, wasn't it?
I really don't know.
Yeah, he was
I
a
seen he
giant though.
saw he had an orange vest on, so I don't know what that was all about because
Wait,
he was bow hunting.
well, there is a season out there. It was either Kansas or Nebraska, but because I talked to him, whatever, it's been a little while ago, but I know they were going out there. He mentioned it was going to be gun season while they were bow hunting. So
Oh, okay, fair
'cause
enough.
I think whatever state it is, it's either Kansas or Nebraska, but uh, their bow season's like a you know whatever it is, September 1st through January 1st or whatever it is. It never stops for the. You can always bow hunt during the gun seasons and stuff out there, like you can here in Indiana too. But yeah, that was a stud, man. I've noticed. Have you noticed how many big deer have been killed in Kentucky this year? Maybe.
I think that has been happening for a long time.
Well, I know, but like this year seems like just. I mean,
Yeah,
there was
the
like
more and more people find out about it, and the
yeah,
better people get at hunting. If
there
there's
was
a
like
if there's a big buck resource right now, some deer hunters are going to know about it,
yeah,
and it might not last that long.
no,
I don't know how things been around you, but I know my friends in Ohio are disappointed.
yeah. I would say the last season was the most people I've ever seen here in Indiana out and about hunting.
That's
Um,
getting to be a pattern.
yeah. Also, just like usually, and it hasn't been as bad this year. And I think one thing that maybe Southern Ohio and Southern Indiana have going for them is people get out here and they don't realize how rugged it is down here, and maybe they bite off more than they can chew for a year, and they decide like this is too much for me, you know?
I think you're right. Surges.
Yeah, and because last year, man, I was getting so many messages, like, and I would just have to ignore them because I can't help everybody, but it's like so many messages about people like, hey, man, I'm coming to Indiana. What do I need to do? Kind of those type of pokes
Mhm.
and
Hey, you know what is interesting about that? I don't get any of those messages because
I'm
no
from
one come
Michigan.
because there's not a bunch of big deer here.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
default to going to the states where there's bigger deer, right?
yeah,
Ohio guys go to Kansas, right? And Kentucky guys go to Kansas, and
right.
everybody chases Iowa and Kansas, or Missouri has really big deer, right?
Hmm.
Illinois has really big deer.
Yeah,
So there's not a bunch of East Coast traffic, Michigan traffic. I don't know
Right.
about PA. I mean, there's been big deer coming out of PA for a while. It seems like big deer, a lot of them.
But
Obviously, Ohio,
they had that reputation of you got a lot of hunters there too. So
they have had that for a long time too, right? But it seems you've hunted there. It seems like a pretty expansive landscape.
oh yeah, there's a lot of public land. I actually have never hunted there. I mean, I've been up there
Oh,
a whole bunch, but for work and whatnot, but I've never hunted it. But yeah, there's thousands and thousands upon thousands of acres of public land and
I'm sure there's millions. I
millions
guess.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just giant national forest up there.
Mm.
Yeah. And you know what is I mean, not I'm not bashing these guys at all because I'm fans of them, but like the hunting public, they hunted a particular area south of me quite a ways, and almost everybody I talked to, that's where they're going. I was like, they're like, have you ever hunted, so and so before?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I. That's where the hunting public went, though.
It's a it's a it's a problem, and those guys are gonna. I mean, I'll be honest about it. There's negative repercussions
hmm
to, especially just out of pure respect for the local populace. Like, so I'm just gonna go there for a day and film a production so we can make a bunch of money off of it, but burn like generational spots for families.
Yeah,
You just have to be a little bit aware of that and like really take the highest level of concern. I feel like it's different if you have a small platform, but it's still, I feel like it could be just standard behavior and practice now that it's a thing.
yeah, and that's the thing is like it probably snuck up on those guys a little bit because I don't know if any of those guys when they started that YouTube stuff, if they ever imagined they'd have 1 million subscribers,
Well,
and
at
it's like,
that
well,
point, yeah,
you know
go
what I
ahead.
mean? Like
Yeah,
when
right.
I started watching them, they had like 25,000 subscribers and they were like a big YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, now you got 1 million people watching your stuff, and it's
Well,
like
yeah.
that's almost everybody.
A- and yeah, and it's, for me to sit here and like lecture them to pump the brakes if they're having finding success. And I mean, they found success like at a really high
Right.
level, right? They're like, holy shit, we're kind of killing it here.
Yeah.
Copy paste, go, go, go.
Yeah.
But there's some downsides to that. And those guys
Mhm.
seem like they're aware and conscious. And I would imagine that they would try to do a better job. My thing is, like I said, I don't have anything against what they're doing, except for I think the honest repercussion of it is, and people are saying this, is that if a broadcast or a program with that large of a viewership sees anything in detail for a length of time, I mean, you probably have dealt with this. Some guys find it enjoyable and entertaining to try to forensically figure out where you are, and they're actually pretty good at it.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's crazy because there's so much land. You'd think like, oh, I take this little tight shot of a rub, like what could that hurt? And somebody drops you a pin, they're like, I know that rub. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh my gosh, like that, and so that's going on. So people pay attention, and the unfortunate thing of it is, the unfortunate thing, I don't know which it is, but the thing of it is it only becomes a problem if there's big giant bucks. If
Right.
there's a
They
if
could go
there's
whip
a
on anywhere and you know wherever,
bunch of
Florida
deer,
or yeah, and nobody would really care. Um, but
but
you're
everybody
right.
likes big giant bucks.
Oh yeah, dude, it does
Yeah.
crazy things to people.
And it does crazy things and they're hard to come by, right? Jesus. Damn
Yeah,
things are a pain in the butt.
yeah, they're hard to come by. Um, yeah, it does. It does feel like a little bit, maybe. I mean, maybe it's just because of the community and the hunting world's getting larger and larger. But as far as just the internet community,
Oh yeah, dude.
um, it does feel like there is a little bit of a pullback on that attitude of the big bucks so important, maybe a little bit. Um, but you still got it. I mean, you still got your plethora of guys that's
We're
what they're after.
we're trying to sell it, but I don't know. People aren't buying, dude. We're trying. We got so much inventory on telling people it's fun to go shoot does and just do your thing and have
Yeah.
fun, and people are like, yeah, all right, I'll get
You
there.
um you've talked to Matt Ranello a whole bunch, haven't you? I know he's really into this this
Yeah,
topic.
you can give me your opinion on him. I think he's interesting. I think he's got some valid points. People should recognize that he's a wild animal and kind of a crazy person, but he's super intelligent and there's some validity to the things that he talks about. His
He makes
delivery might be brash and not perfect, and he also lives in a little bit of a bubble, but he's got some valid points.
100%. I mean, he makes me think about stuff. I mean, me and you both are probably kind of in the same boat. Like, he's made me think like, man, I need to be careful what I'm doing and how I present what I'm doing, and make sure it's in the right light, not some weird, you know, thing
Uh,
that's gonna disgrace animals or kind of push things in a weird way.
he's it's interesting to think about, like, for you to be a kind of person that could get on his bad side because he's such a generally just like friendly, nice individual. He'd have to be so convinced that you were you know, destroying something,
Yeah.
or be thoroughly convinced of you that you're not an asset, that you're a liability, and that's where he's at with it. It's crazy. It's, put waves of stress on their families and stuff. I mean, they have
Oh man.
ideological. Him and his brother Steve have ideological differences, and and this is just my 100% opinion. I do feel like Steven Ranella is pretty smart, and he has to realize that there's some validity to the things that his brother is talking about.
Hmm.
But I don't think that he can accept that in his position.
Right.
So there's a real problem there because, like, this carries outside all this. Like, if somebody has a problem and they're kind of denying it to themselves, but then there's somebody around them telling them, like, hey, you might have a little bit of a problem. You might get resentful about that kind of individual pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So,
Um, yeah, and like Matt, it's tough because he's looking at the most extreme example. Like Meat Eater is the biggest, right? And that
mhm.
was his, and he's a little. I mean, like you said, his delivery is not always great, but uh,
He's a
it,
crazy person. He's
there's
a crazy person.
in my opinion, there's some hypocritical things. Like he's been on the Meat Eater show a whole bunch of times. It's like, was it not a problem then for you? And I don't know.
Right.
Um,
It's just a bummer.
it is. It sucks, man. It sucks. I mean, I wish both. I mean, it's
But
kind
it
of
do
one of those things where like he could be an asset for a Meat Eater. Like he could come in there and try to help them fix some of these problems. Like they could start a whole division about this. You know what I
he
mean?
he'd just purposely be in there, like, doing bad paperwork and trying to fold the company up. Like, I just licensed it away.
Maybe that's true. I don't know him, so maybe that's a
No,
bad idea.
no, no.
But you know what I mean? If they could be civil about it, it could be like a whole nother division of Meat Eater. Not that they
Yeah.
need another division, but
Well, the good thing for me and you is that we don't have to agree 100% with either one of those guys,
right.
and it's not gonna affect our lives. We can figure out for ourselves personally, I have, what what part of the gray area here do I fall into? And the fact that me and you are just organically had no plans to have this conversation and are having this conversation leads me to believe that it's something that's been on both of our minds. Like,
Oh yeah.
how do you navigate this? Because I don't have any qualms about saying, like, I run a business here, you
Yeah.
know? And so, but is the only way to run the business have the brand be off shooting big animals and then, everybody kind of following along and doing that? Or can it be rebranded and done differently? It seems that way now with e-commerce and the way that all the different options that are available. I mean, look at a guy like Jared Scheffler. He bucked the whole industry.
Oh yeah.
He's
Did it way
got longevity. He's still selling DVDs too. What is he doing? He's like the last Indian out there.
I know.
Yeah, but he's not giving up, and he's got had a one of the most successful, and he did it completely different. So he's like great proof that's like, you don't have to go down this beaten trail. You can make your own way and do different. Like this whole thing you got going here tonight, this live thing, and it's there's a lot that goes into this. It's a different kind of production. Not everybody's doing this, has the bandwidth to do this. So you got your path figured out, and we can take one of those guys' extreme views and the other one and figure out where we kind of lay with it. I'll ask you this. I don't know. It's been standard practice for forever. And I don't know if it's because people that are doing the production have a sense of guilt about being like completely transparent and honest with their audience, but I don't feel that I'm obligated to tell people even what state I'm hunting in.
Yeah.
I don't feel any obligation to do that. Like, actually,
Yeah. I guess I don't.
let them figure it out. If they
Yeah.
could figure it out, that I'm not even like, we're deer hunting. That's
Yeah.
it.
I know. I don't guess I don't think about it too much. Like I
We're
just
in the southwest corner of Kansas on this small piece of state land. We snuck in here on the backside.
off Highway 4.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I guess I don't think about it. I guess I never have put too much thoughts in it. I don't have any. I've never had any worries about telling people like, oh, I'm in Ohio or whatever. But I guess you would clearly like where I'm hunting at. You'd probably know I'm in Southern Ohio,
Maybe.
wherever.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because I
Right.
never been there or whatever. But if you announced it or had it like scrolled across the
No.
screen,
No.
I'd
No.
figure it out pretty quickly.
Right.
So I'm
Um.
just saying, and everybody kind of has their own as much, but I feel like it does. We like to tell a story as hunters.
Yeah.
So like you like to be like, yeah, this is where I am. This is what the weather's like, all this and that. But I think you could do yourself and everybody else a favor if you just skip the whole part where you're at. Like,
Right.
we're here in the
Well, that's a
United
good point.
States, you know?
I know Jason Samkoviak does that. Yeah. He does that. He doesn't tell people where he hunts at all. Of course, he doesn't make any hunting videos other than on his Patreon, but I know he's big on he's just hunting. So yeah, it's
Something to think about.
it is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you wouldn't know. I mean, if you
Well, you know where I
didn't tell
think
him.
that came from?
Where's that?
We're here at Hadley Creek Ranch,
Oh yeah, the
Southern
outdoor channel
Ohio.
stuff. Yeah,
We're in Southern Illinois at Hadley Creek Big Buck Ranch.
right, right. We're on the
That's where.
Milk River hunting the ASIO property, whatever. They're trying to this
So then
advertising.
everybody's like, well, I'll just do it from state land, you know?
Yeah, yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like there was, I mean, literally almost zero representation of public land hunters on the
Jared
internet. Like,
Scheffler, that was it.
yeah, and he wasn't even on the internet. So
No,
it's
he
like,
wasn't. He was on
so
DVD.
until I guess the Midwest whitetail stuff happened with
Yeah.
Zach Barenball and Aaron and Greg. Like they didn't even exist, and that was not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't. I was late to the party. I don't know.
Yeah,
I ducked out on a lot of, or I think guys maybe consume more than
yeah,
I have, but I don't consume a ton. I don't have a ton of time to keep up with all that. But I know the video production is huge, and then obviously, yeah, when it shifted away from going to Gander Mountain or Cabela's and picking up Dream Season 18 and
right.
Whitetail Madness 18.
Monster Bucks Volume 74.
Yeah, dude, it was always the juries for me or some like off thing. Like, I'm like the cover. They'd get me with the cover.
Yeah,
Some big buck
yeah.
is rubbing a tree or something.
The
But
truth,
you'd go,
man. I like the truth.
yeah, you'd go rent video. We'd go up north to northern Michigan and go to our cabin and go to the local video store, and we would rent hunting VHSs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you're talking about Johnny Stewart's cabin right now in Ohio. That's
Oh,
all. He doesn't have TV out there, so we just like literally that's what I like bring as a gift for letting me stay at his cabin is just old DVDs, hunting DVDs, because that's all you can watch. You don't have TV or nothing. So
that's how our camp's been for forever. And that honestly, that's why I never made the shift or was late to the party on the digital stuff. Is because we always went to deer camp and we'd be lucky if we get the local news,
right,
so it was DVDs and VHS for us, but lucky for us, we've been collecting that stuff for decades. I'll put my hunting DVD and VHS collection up against most people's.
yeah,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
I have shoe boxes full of hunting. The Fitzgeralds, Dan
yep.
and Guy Fitzgerald had a couple
Oh yeah,
real goofball videos, but they got some real good deer hunting
oh
action
yeah,
on them. Sorry, you
yep.
got me excited
I know
thinking
it's
about that stuff.
dude. I love reminiscing on those things. I used to
Yeah,
collect all the Realtree road trip DVDs. I had all those. I like the Primo stuff, the Truth 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, however many they did. I had all the jewelry stuff too. Um, yeah, I don't know. I dumped a bunch of them off at Johnny's cabin, but um, yeah,
Well,
those
what
are
about the archery equipment then too? Like aluminum arrows and flipper rests, and
yeah,
compounds weren't very complicated. String tracker, muzzy thread broadheads, like
yeah,
some of the
yeah,
stuff. Remember, you could get a mini mag light, and then they had a screw in for the back, and then it had a threaded piece that you could screw into a stabilizer.
yeah,
Highly
yeah,
illegal.
yeah.
Highly
I,
illegal.
I can't say I ever had one of them, but
Someone bought me one. They
oh,
worked
nice.
just fine. Well, those those little mag lights were never very impressive.
No, no, no,
But
no,
now
not
that they're
compared.
LED and everything, they're pretty intense. But yeah, that was a Cobra stabilizer, and it would come tapped, so you could put a string tracer or a flashlight mount in there. There was some interesting things going on in the archery realm.
Oh, no.
Overdraw.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was all kinds of weird stuff, man, back in the day. Um, things have come a long, long way, I
It's
guess.
been fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. We never got into the aluminum arrows. My dad he must have bought like a truckload of these, they were fiberglass or something. They were brown. They looked like they weren't wood, but they were like fiberglass arrows.
Hmm.
And he always had those. He had like, I mean, I shot the same arrows he did out of my little kid's bow, Um, but I never did get into the aluminum thing. And then we went
Oh,
straight to carbon after we ran out of those things.
yeah. Okay. Well, I had probably a good half a decade to a decade with aluminum arrows, I would say.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I didn't know any different. It was just whatever we had is what I used. So,
Yeah, sure.
um, yeah, I mean, we had a couple aluminum arrows laying around, but not very many.
Well, this quiver here above
Yeah, I
me
see it.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right
boom.
there.
Some of those are cedar arrows. They're from my grandfather's bow,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
some of them are broken because I broke them when I was like 10 or 12 shooting trees in the backyard and stuff,
Hmm.
you know.
Man, that's cool to have something like that. My grandpa was not a bow hunter. He never did
Mine
bow.
wasn't mine wasn't either, really. He liked the gun hunt. He liked the camaraderie of it. If he shot one buck a year, that was great. But he typically, well, my grandpa owned land. My grandpa always owned land. He had a farm, and then he bought acreage up north, and my grandpa owned really nice land. And so he just set blinds up and shoot big deer every year. But I think he ever shot an arrow at a deer. He had a bow because somebody gave him a bow, and then my uncle
One of those.
traded that bow away for this bow, and then yeah. So long story short, he had a bow and some archery equipment. Well, also when he was coming up kind of through, and he was in business, he had a lot of business associates, a lot of people in Michigan were connected with or worked. He had friends that he deer hunted with that worked at Bear Archery.
Oh, cool.
So he, he for many years would still, when he was retired and whatnot, have guys that would travel across the country in their RV in the summer, and they worked at Bear Archery, and they'd come to Michigan in the summer and come visit and stuff like that. So he had some of those relationships too. So he had a decent amount. And our farm, that farm that he owned in Southeast Michigan, there's a huge freshwater delta there. It's
Hmm.
very resourceful. And so Native Americans naturally settled there. And it was, I believe, the Algonquin tribe. My grandfather has probably 4 1-gallon Ziploc bags full of arrowheads, spearheads, hatchet heads. It's some really impressive stuff. They've donated a ton of it to museums, but he still has a ton of it
Dang, that's awesome.
from working those fields. He was a sod farmer.
Hmm.
So he worked those fields every year, and he'd just find more and more and more. I don't know, how many decades or thousands or who knows what length of time, but it was a long length of time that Native Americans were settled on that land, before, our family ended up owning it, and we started shooting deer off of it.
Yeah, that's cool. My grandpa he was just a meat hunter and like bow. He's just like, I don't, this, the bow and arrow doesn't really collect meat that well.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so
got
he just go, you'd only get so many tags in Indiana, and he just would, it wasn't the hours in the stand versus the amount of meat that came home wasn't good enough for him. I don't think. He
Yeah.
also coon hunted and squirrel hunted and rabbit. I mean, he did everything. So, but
That's the truth. That's the truth of it. If I had to sacrifice, I was actually seriously thinking when I walked out here, I was like, you know what, the season's gonna might have to be if I'm gonna not fight the power curve here.
yeah,
And sometimes if you try to fight the power curve wins. I might have to actually sacrifice part of my season here to just stay on track and get some work and some projects and things done.
yeah,
And I wouldn't trade my gun season for my bow season at
yeah,
all. Not at all. I would take, you know, I would take, I guess I would take ideally the month of November. But if I had to choose gun or bow, I would take November 15th to December 15th over, the October 15th to November 15th when I could archery hunt.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my grandpa was one of the biggest hunters and fishermen I knew, but it was all about putting, meat in the freezer, fish in the freezer.
ROI.
Yeah. And dude, it was so much simpler back then. Like he had a gun, he had like a little gun cabinet and it had a 20 pump 22 and a 20 gauge in it. That's all he had, you know? And he had one set of like his camo was he just had one set of bib overalls. That was it. And it's like now we have all this crap, that we use it. I don't know. Sometimes I just like, man, why do we make this stuff so complicated and spend so much money on this stuff?
Yeah. Well, we definitely can overcomplicate it, but it's fun. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
is.
it's a passion and it's fun to play around with things. But I'll tell you this: I did that for a long time, like accumulated hunting stuff for decades, and now I don't do too much of that. I get rid of more stuff every year than I get.
Yeah.
I'm pretty selective about what I bring in now. And obviously, I get a lot of product because I work with a lot of companies. Just be completely transparent with that. I get a lot of product from a lot of companies that I've worked with for a very long time,
Yeah.
and we just have a handshake agreement since the turn of time that basically, like, if you have a good product and good customer service and you make a product that fixes other people's needs that are our audience, I'm happy to promote and share with them,
Yeah.
really. So you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right.
I've had a lot of deer hunting product that's come through these doors. And, I'll never say that I got it for free because I didn't get it for free.
No.
Because if you took a look at the hours that I've turned over, like it would make a lot more sense for me to buy 4 of them
Oh
and
yeah.
throw 3 of them out right away
Yeah.
and take the other one. But it whatever, I kind of like it, like
Oh yeah.
talking about back about the Native Americans, you trade your buckskin for some fruit and vegetables and things of that nature, so I'll trade you some hunting product for some
Yeah.
eyeballs and some credibility, you know what I mean? But I just don't go buying a whole lot of hunting gear and feeling like I need more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at that point too in life. I mean, it's just not that important to me anymore. Like when I was in my 20s, it's like you always wanted something cool and new and all that. Now it's just like I want something that's good. It's gonna last me a
Yeah.
long time.
It's probably a thing about getting older too, where you're like less apprehensive to spend your money.
Yeah. Right.
You're like,
Or you're
damn
wanting to
it.
spend it more. Yeah. You're wanting to spend it more wisely and um all that kind of stuff too. You got kids getting older, they get more expensive as they get older and
Well, the
um
cost of living's gone through the roof and, the deck's stacked against us right now. We'll have to get some things straightened out, but I'm here for it. If
yeah.
anybody wants to get the party going, I'm here for it. So,
We don't
like
really have a choice.
my,
We
my
gotta be here
grandpa,
for it.
my grandpa always said, "Oh, I feel terrible. We're leaving the world like this for you." And I'm like, dude, we're just getting started. Like,
Yeah. It could get a lot worse.
yeah, it could get a lot worse. No, that's not the direction I'm looking to go with it.
No, I know, but I mean it's not the end of the world yet. So
No, it's
um,
not. It's not. Not
yeah.
here, not now, but in some places it kind of is. And so,
Yeah,
you
true.
always know that the reality is that you're lucky to be where you are when you are, and
Hmm.
that could change any day. And so I don't know, man. I think, it's a reason to be educated and have a plan.
It is, man. I truly believe that our country is the last free place on earth, and it seems like for whatever reason, some type of force is trying to make it the opposite of that. But
I'm in complete agreement. I think the internet changed everything. People can communicate now never they never could in human history, right? Like you could just literally imagine if you just had control exclusively of the internet and web services that control people's banks. I
yeah,
mean, if you just shut money off and said this is what we're doing now. So I think that there's probably some people that think that they can take advantage of that at some capacity, you know? And so, but that's if you just look through history and human history, just look at human history. We're just talking about the Native Americans. They're like, oh, look at these nice people
yeah,
wiped out.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's kind of what we do. Like, and if it's not like that is a unique scenario. Look all the way back through human history.
oh yeah.
That's all
Civilizations
it's
come and
ever
they go.
been.
Yeah, it is.
We could maybe prevent some of that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying I'd like to,
yeah. Humans and the history of the human race has not been that pretty for
not
the
been that pretty, dude.
no, not as far as everybody kind of getting along and things working out.
Hey,
Um,
I'll just throw this out there. I know that you have a lot of faith. You're a religious guy. You do a whole podcast based
yeah.
on that, right?
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm a little bit on the opposite side of that. Like
Hmm.
I'm not going to tell people what my relationship is with faith and all this and that. But I guess my point is with this and bringing this up, and I believe that this is imperatively important. Is that if you look back at human history before the primary religion was Catholicism, I wouldn't want to be around. It was pretty rough.
Yeah,
It was pretty rough.
yeah,
Okay. It might have some problems and there might be some things that you don't agree with. But I'll say this, and I watched this in real time. Not to bring any of this up, but just to be really real. When COVID happened, I saw people that like believed in God and had faith and were like religious people not freak out and
yeah,
actually be kind of reasonable. And I was like, look at this, dude. These people aren't freaked out and they're pretty confident here. That's like, hey, and then you saw in real time people like attack those people for feeling that way. And I was
yeah,
like, oh shit,
yeah,
this is crazy.
yeah.
So I was like, well, I know
I know,
whose
man.
side I'm on, dude. Like,
Yeah,
and like I said, the human history thing, if you look back at like Vikings and shit and before
yeah.
like,
They live more like grizzly bears than they did humans.
dude, Genghis Khan,
Yeah.
excuse me, we're just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
ride around and wipe out the earth and take it over.
Oh, you heard stories about like, when just when um when Jesus was born about Caesar just killing all the boys in a whole in the whole in that country, it's like, whoa. Could you imagine something like that happened right now? It's like you hear all kinds of stories like that, things that happened back in the day. It's like, whoa,
I'm
crazy crap
I,
going
I,
on, dude.
I'm consciously grateful and have I think I have a healthy fear of that this what we have right now is temporary. This won't be for forever, and it wasn't in the past. Like
Yeah,
what we're talking about, there was really dark times, and I think you better be on your A game if you don't want to revisit those. You probably have a conscious responsibility at a minimum to be like, hey, this stuff happened before. Let's make sure that we're looking for any patterns of it coming and
right.
nip it right in the butt before it gets metastasized. But it seems like recently it might have metastasized a little bit.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, it feels right at the moment. We're kind of tipping and we could go either way with it. I think like there's a lot of bad things that have come along with the internet and, um, like you talked about a little bit ago, right? Just, um, things travel a lot quicker. People are more hostile, but also like, there's also, I think it'd be a way, like people have way more information now than they ever have. And as long as they're using the internet properly and like, forming their own opinions, like you can find out a lot more than you used to also. Like it's going to be harder
right.
for, evil people to pull wool over your eyes than it was back in the, you name it, because we have all this information like, hey, maybe this guy is doing something that he's not supposed to be doing or
You are right. But the counter of that is that there's a lot of people that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but there's a lot of people that are really intelligent. There's a lot of people that are moderately intelligent. And there's a lot of people that frankly just aren't that intelligent. Not trying to be rude. It's just a
No.
real thing, right?
Yeah.
They get preyed upon, dude.
Yep.
And
Algorithm, man. The algorithm.
it doesn't matter sometimes, some of this stuff, these views are so etched in these people's, like, who they are, that it's almost a religious belief. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what set of I mean, listen, I never called myself a Republican. I never called myself a Democrat. Like, I was totally, like an independent.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to see how that pressure has come in the last few years to be like, I don't even know. We're going off the rails here. We probably
We
should
are.
we should probably back this thing.
We can.
I'm stopping in real time going, what am I saying here? People are going to be like, oh, you're going to have Alex Jones on next week?
Yeah.
I'm out of here. This show sucks.
I
But
think
I'm glad you let me go
no,
with
I
it a
love
little
talking
bit.
about this kind of stuff. I think the biggest problem is people are so quick to like worship other people. Like people
Yes.
absolutely, they either worship Joe Biden or they worship Donald Trump. It's like, man, neither one of them people are going to solve your problems. It's like there's one option that I think is better than the other, but it's like, you know, it's it's not they're still humans and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to say the wrong things on both sides. It's like you got to look past some of that stuff and realize that you got to make yourself better and quit depending on these politicians to fix things for you.
Yeah.
um
Thank you. I lost my train of thought, but you gathered it back up there,
yeah.
So my point is like, people aren't, they know in their head they're not 100% confident with what they're saying. So
Yeah.
they just dig their heels in, dude.
Oh yeah, don't question them about it. It's like they have an opinion, but don't ask them about the
Well,
opinion. Don't ask them to elaborate.
that's where that thing stems from, that they are mentally and physically unable to change their decision because they're in this defense mechanism of their ideas and their confidence being challenged, that over the course of the last couple of years, like I said, I never said I was a Republican or a Democrat, but
Yeah.
just watching the way that different people behaved and everything, it was just like, this is mind blowing.
Oh yeah, and I think another problem with our society right now is like people have such a hard time like not knowing. Like it's okay to be like not understand something or to be wrong, and it's like, but man, people just think they know everything and that there's no way. Like I don't know how people are so dang confident they're smart. You know what I mean? It's like you're not. Most people are not that smart. It's gosh.
Right.
Um,
Well, hey, look, I'll just summarize. I'll just go full all in. I'll just summarize real quickly, and then we can move
yeah, we'll
on.
move on. I got
And
another topic in my head.
I think it's just reasonable to have watched over the course of time how money has affected politics.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just money here in our country. Money outside of our country
Oh yeah.
has affected our politics for many times. We are no longer the constituents. Like, the donors are the constituents. That's who. And really, frankly, a lot of what we watch is like WWF now. It's like, keep them
It
just
is.
distract. I mean, you got AOC out there with, she's just looking beautiful every day, dressed up all hot. She's like the Spanish weather girl. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Sable from WWE, dude. The
It
whole
is.
thing is just like, keep them entertained. We're just
It
gonna
is.
ride the coffers
Yeah.
out. But my point is I think it's reasonable to have seen that pattern happen. Also, to watch that um we built, and you saw Donald Trump challenge this, the defense industry. And after they built the defense industry and there was not much going on, so there's not much defending to do. It's
Yeah.
like having a storefront where
Yeah.
you
Maybe
sell
we start a
bombs and
war so we can
guns.
make some money.
It's
Yeah.
like, imagine you and I own a storefront and we sell bombs and ammo and there's nothing going on. We'd be
Right.
out of business real fast. So they're
Yeah.
like, all right, hear me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
going to sound crazy,
Yeah.
but we could just stir a little bit of shit up.
You know that big country, Russia?
These guys are already pissed at each other. All we got to do is covertly sneak in here and blow up this pipeline, and it'll start the whole thing up. And that's been going on for generations.
Oh, it's not
And
making
everybody's pissed at us.
Yeah.
And me and you are going to have to fucking pay for it.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I don't know what to tell you. Thank you to the veterans. Thank you to
Yeah.
police. Thank you to first responders. We love you. We're there for you. We got your back. We're ready to go. Just tell me where I need to be and when I need to be there. But Josh, you got the American flag behind you. I'm repping today. Like
Yeah.
I got it on the wall here. I don't know. We wouldn't be able to do this.
No.
And a lot of people sacrificed a whole lot. So the least that we can do is just be paying a little bit of attention, going, oh,
Right.
maybe I should be at least
Looking into this, having some
trying to
opinions.
do what I can do versus just getting online yelling at everybody.
I know.
Yeah.
To transition back into hunting. Like,
sorry.
This is a good no.
I don't know your audience.
We usually talk about politics, the WWE, and deer hunting on this show. That's literally what we
No way.
Thank God, yeah.
All right.
You can ask me and Patrick. But anyway.
Okay, good.
But it happens,
Great.
dude, it happens in every in every niche in this world. Like, look at the hunting industry. Like, you got your saddle hunters and your lone wolf custom gear guys and your beast guys and your tree stand hunters. It's like nobody can. It's unbelievable how humans.
Don't you bring a scent locker out of this camp. You find another camp. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
We know we invited you, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
We saw that you had a bunch of scent lock in your truck, and we were just wondering if you'd take off.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry guys.
Hey, are you shooting a crossbow?
Yeah. Heaven forbid.
Yeah. But it really does. I mean, it's no different than how the politics work. It's like we get stuck in these bubbles that we can't get out of for some reason.
Yeah. Well, it's that thing that people don't have confidence. You know, I don't hunt with a crossbow, but I imagine if you took enough shit from enough people, you'd be sick of it.
Yeah.
And maybe you also know a little bit subconsciously, like, yeah, of course it's not as hard. You don't have to keep reminding me.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm good with, and this is what I like doing. So, but here's the thing, like in the trades, we just kind of like destroy each other every day. That's like what we go to work to do, is try to like break each other down.
Right.
How we entertained ourselves. So like, I think that's not reciprocated if you work maybe like a real professional desk job or something. You're like, you got some roofer,
like HR team or something.
Some roofer showing up at camp. Oh, you got a crossbow, huh?
Yeah.
Real cute.
Yeah. What are you, a homosexual? Yeah. That's
you need Jesus.
Yeah. That's yeah, I think the biggest thing is like people just feel like they got to have some kind of community, and I don't know, it's a weird aspect that we get stuck into.
Listen, you're gonna get a kick out of this. It's gonna take me a second to find this, but it's gonna be worth showing you. I got a t-shirt design. I can't release it publicly.
Okay.
But because we're talking about all this, it's like the perfect, you laid me up to show you this.
Okay.
So it might take, oh no, I'm lucking out. I have it right here. All right. I'll try to get this situated in the, hold on.
What's it say? Pray the gay away. Oh my gosh.
It's Jesus.
He'll make a shirt. He'll print that on a shirt and sell it.
It's Jesus and pit vipers.
So
it's ridiculous from every aspect, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, I thought about that one day, and my buddy Ryan's like, I could make that. He sent it to me, and I was like, yeah. Dan would wear that shirt, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, he would. Yeah, he definitely would.
I would have a little bit of reservation about going grocery shopping with my family.
Yeah,
but
Dan wouldn't.
No, Dan wouldn't. Yeah, right.
Have you seen his I once blew a tranny shirt or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I laughed out loud.
Yeah. Oh, he wears that around all the time, so that's not too far off.
Yeah. No, yeah, right. Yeah. No, that's maybe more offensive.
Anyway, yeah. Are you doing any other hunting other than Michigan?
No, I'm not. I relocated.
Yeah, someone asked if you moved up to Traverse City.
Yeah, I live in the Traverse City area.
Yeah.
Right. So, um, not really in the city,
Yeah. It's
but in
beautiful up
there.
there.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's a vast area. So it's sweet. And from, the area that we hunted at in my hunt camp, I'm only 90-minute drive. So, and I'm only about that to my brother's place. And so I can basically drive an hour and a half almost every direction and hunt.
Yeah.
So it's when you ask me if I'm going out of state, I'm like, I just got here. I'm probably good for a while, like trying
Yeah.
to figure. But that said, I have had there's one particular deer hunt that I have in my mind that I've been wanting to do for a while. And then there is I'd like to do a western elk hunt.
Yeah. You
Hmm.
should. It's fun.
Yep,
I
I would
want to
like to do that.
I used to go when I was younger a lot, but I haven't been in well since we had kids and stuff. I haven't been in 5 years now, I guess. But um, I've been accumulating points. So um,
Our production facility is out of the city.
oh really?
Yeah, we make that whole we do deal. We get all the packaging and all the raw ingredients in, and it's like a bakery making, or it's like a bakery and a chemistry lab came together and had a baby.
There you go.
Every time the guy, different post guys, postal guy will have a day off or whatever, and they'll send a random guy, and he's like, "What's going on?" They're looking, they're like, "Oh, it's a
Like
meth lab."
making, we're making yeah,
Dude,
we're making deer urine. No,
there and there's meth up. There's there. I don't know how remote you are to a city, but you get into remote areas and
oh
things
yeah,
get things get methy.
things get blown up on
Yeah.
occasion. Basements get blown up.
So I see these guys walk in here for the first time, and they're kind of like, like,
Yeah,
like, don't worry, we're just making deer pee.
yeah, that's funny.
You're good.
Tell people about your business you started last year, Kevin, because they see me using it sometimes and ask me what I'm using and all that. So
Yeah, sure. Make a synthetic deer lure, two actually, and it comes as a package as like a scrape system.
mhm.
So we make a branch catalyst, which is a cool, unique product, and then we make a synthetic urine. It's not a world-breaking, innovative product. Just be fully transparent and honest with people. It's like a ammonia byproduct, but the true value in it is that it has like an additive in it, almost like a gelatin. That if you go and pour water, like guys will mix ammonia and water often to make scrapes with it. Great. But if you go pour water and ammonia on your driveway and let the sun's out, like it's gone. Like maybe in seconds,
Mhm.
definitely in minutes, it's gone. But there's an additive in ours that kind of gives it like a skim over it, I guess, when it gets to the oxygen, and then when that gets wet again, it essentially is the liquids there again. So it slows the evaporation down rate like pretty great.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
so that's the true benefit of that product, and it's insanely strong.
Yeah.
You can use it as smelling salts.
Yeah.
If you're in like you're like, I just got to get this last hour drive and I'm going to Johnny Stewart's cabin. I worked all day. It's 3.5 hours. Dude,
Yeah.
if you reached over and you're like, whoa.
I'm gonna get my DH3 urine out and start smelling it.
Now I have to give this disclaimer that I do not recommend doing that
Right.
ever.
Of course.
Under no circumstance
Right.
should you ever do that. But I've done it before and it actually works. It's pretty great. I noticed when I would clean the tanks and stuff, I'm like, woo, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I'm
I'm
fired up
feeling
right now.
great, dude. What's going on? Let's fill some bottles.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
it's a real thing, but the branch catalyst is a unique product. It's like a 95% in an inactive ingredient, which is a sweet aromatic all game attractant.
Mhm.
And then the 5% is like the active ingredient, and that is a synthetic gland lure. And it basically recreates the odor of, I think, a gland. It's like this musty undertone, and it has very similar properties, like down to the hormone and pheromone properties of like a tarsal gland, which is the gland that excretes the most on deer. You know, people talk about the orbital gland and people talk about the forehead gland, but you've shot enough deer to know this. You shoot one of those deer and you take your hand and you run it over its head. That deer's greasy and oily, right?
Oh yeah.
But your hand doesn't stink to high heaven, and there's certainly no like you can't, you wouldn't
Yeah.
think to not shake somebody's hand or something. Take your hand and rub your hands through a tarsal gland.
Yeah. Grab a
And
hold of a leg to pull a deer out or something, and
that has like a pressurized gland that excretes. And so it's just a way more powerful attractant than like, the forehead gland and the orbital gland is pretty misleading. Really, I hate to say that it's more marketing than there's a percentage of marketing there.
yeah.
They're not in the back of the place ringing out like forehead glands and orbital glands.
Right.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
So, but people, it's standard practice. Here you go. You probably know a person that has cut a tarsal gland off and used it in some capacity to deer hunt, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know anybody that's cut the deer's face off and went out and like hung it in a tree?
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's so if you can look at those things and kind of figure out like where's the marketing aspect of this coming from, because that's an easy sell, right? Duh, they rub their face on it. Well, if they were um, gymnasts and they could stand on their front legs and rub their tarsal glands up on these licking branches, they probably would do that.
Yeah.
But instead, they can't, so they pee down through them and get what scent they can. But they'd rather have it up top where it's broadcasted.
Yeah.
So that's why they spend so much time doing it too. Is like it probably takes them a ton to rub, and then it's just that oil that's coming off of their. It does. I mean, it's no different than me or you wiping our hand underneath our armpit and going,
Yeah.
that, there's something going on there, right?
Yeah.
And they smell how many times better than us, 600,000 times or some crazy stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
They
Right.
can smell the ingredients in the recipe
Yeah. Right.
where we just smell, oh, he's cooking lasagna.
Yeah.
They're like, that
Mhm.
hamburger's 3 weeks old.
Yeah. Right.
So but the thing is, the cool thing about hunting deer, and one of my favorite things about them and us, is me and you defer to our vision. Like if we see a cake, but it smells like lasagna, you're like, that cake smells like lasagna. But to a deer, if they smell one thing and see another, they defer to their nose.
Yeah.
We trust our eyes as our primary sense of like how we view danger or view anything, and they trust their nose. Like they'll look right at you and they'll keep walking at you. But if
Yeah.
they smell you, it's done and over, right? So
Right.
my point to that is it's fun to understand that and use that to manipulate their behavior and be predatory, and set little traps for them and do it purposely, and then watch them play the script. It's like how Dan loves bed hunting. Like he gets his jollies off of like knowing this deer's bedded here, and everybody kind of has their thing that they like to do. And I've just found, well, over years growing up, we hunted bait.
Yeah.
So it was fun. We'd go sit over baits and we'd see a lot of deer and we'd shoot a lot of deer. And it was fun, but a terribly inefficient way to kill big deer consistently.
Right.
Terrible. The worst, maybe.
Yeah.
But a good scrape setup fixes all of that, because once the scrape gets up and running, you just kind of leave it alone. You don't have to go out there every week and pour your apples in your corn. If a scrape's good, all you have to do is monitor it. The
Yeah.
deer do all the, ramping it up and ramping it up. That's why we call the branch catalyst, because it's just a catalyst. Like, let's get this activity that's already going to happen. Let's amplify it, get the party started. So
Yeah.
you can go spray a licking branch down and get a good scrape set up and then pattern deer. And the cool thing about it is that it's pretty cost effective, and you can shoot all calibers of deer. You can have one set up right off a 2-track or a road that a bunch of does come through. And frankly, I mean, if you got a bunch of does coming through and you got a good scrape right there, guess what? Hot tip, might be a great place to be in November. There's probably going to be some bucks coming through, right? So, but if you also just want to have a spot set up to do doe extraction, if they're already coming through there and there's already scrape there, a lot of does, I don't know what the percentage is. I should start keeping track of that. But doe, I just put the scrape out like right in their bedroom, and she was a big mature doe, and she came right to it and put her nose to it and checked it out. And I'm like, this is like the best video, because this is what I lacked with trying other scent products, is having like an old doe come in or a mature buck and be like, I never smelled that before. What is that? They're not instantly freaked out, but I'd have a decent percentage of deer that would act that way. They're like, that's a foreign odor. So I always hate that. Oh, just crush my soul to like see that negative interaction of something that I did,
Yeah.
So that sent me in motion for years to like try different products and try to find less and less of that negative interaction. And that's what landed me at synthetic lures. But then there was some problems with the synthetic lures that were available, in my opinion. And I started going at it, and we started going at it. And after a couple of years, we're like, this is it. This is better. This is the thing. Look, it works better. It solves some of those problems. And one of the problems that it solves is you're not introducing a foreign odor. It's a concentration of things that they already smell in their natural environment, but it's concentrated down, I don't know. I think 1,000,000 times is probably an overstatement, but hundreds of thousands of times might not be. And so they know that odor, and that's why it was good proof again. I'm always trying to like reestablish my confidence that like, yeah, it's a good product. You're doing a good thing here. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So when I see a big mature doe that I just went in there and like blew her spot up, they were bedding in there. There's a bunch of fruit trees in there. They're just laying up under the fruit trees. And I went in there's a couple scrapes. I cleaned one of them out real good, hit everything. And that night, this big doe came in, and she got downwind of it, and she looked just, and walked right to it and just calmly put her nose to it and real calmly just ran her nose up and down it and her face up and down it. And I was just like, it's too good. This is it. This is perfect. This is beautiful. Thank you. And I did one Tuesday afternoon. So I got permission on a small piece of private property, but it's sandwiched between a couple of huge farms, and it's a little old lady that lives there, and she's the sweetest old lady, and she's combating deer like they have a war going between her ornamental landscaping and the deer. And I said, I know a guy that could assist you with removing some of these deer. And she said, oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful. And I was like, I'm your guy. So I went and put a scrape in on this piece of private on Tuesday, and Wednesday morning I had 7 does on it. And so I was just
she has a lot of deer then.
She has a lot of deer there. I mean, there's rubs all over the place, and big rubs all over the place.
Nice.
And it makes sense the way that this is all kind of protected. And the way it's, how they say like it's better to have the right 10 acres than the wrong 100 acres or whatever. She's got this. I identified this on a map when I was driving in. I was like, holy crap, look what's going on here. And, sure enough, I don't go walking around knocking on doors for permission. This was just a coincidental thing. But I was like, I'm going to start doing this more often, like start just asking. I always ask, is there a lot of deer around, and see how people react. You can usually, if you just ask that question, you can see how they react.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, we've been on here for an hour. How we're going to do this, guys, is we're going to do like a part 2 on Kevin's podcast. So, when you'll release the part 2 after we record it?
People are watching this all live, but you're going to publish it. You publish these too?
It goes up automatically.
Oh, okay.
After you're done recording, it goes up to YouTube.
I would assume it would be next week.
Okay. That'll be a good timing then.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Okay. Me and Kevin are going to record part 2, and then you guys can listen to part 2 next week. But thanks for
yeah, thanks for having me. I had too much fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Sometimes it's nice to talk about other things than just deer hunting tactics.
It was great. It altered my mood.
There you go. Well, everybody, thanks for getting on tonight, and hit that subscribe button before you leave, and we'll talk to you later.